Back in the late 1980s, McDonald's partnered with Hasbro Monopoly in a genius marketing campaign to give away prizes from free drinks, meals, cars, houses, and million-dollar fortunes. It was such a success that it continued for over 12 years. But the competition garnered a very strange air around it, as prizes were being won, but not a single grand prize winner wanted to go public. So why was such a lucrative, fun competition not getting winner publicity? Why were the amazing prizes being claimed by people and the organizers never heard from the winners themselves? We'll explain how this unbelievable story that involved greed, corruption, mobsters, and 9/11 resulted in a multi-billion-dollar business being deceived out of over $24 million. A genius competition and the resulting chaos. In 1986, McDonald's partnered with Hasbro, the owners of Monopoly, to put together a long-term competition in that would see sales soar and give patrons the chance of winning a huge variety of prizes, including lump sums of up to $1 million. Using a budget of $500 million, it would be rolled out in the USA and Canada in 1987. Prize pieces could be found within McDonald's meals, drinks, some magazines, and promotional material. It blew up and was so popular that armed robbers would hold up the restaurants to get their hands on the prizes. It was a frenzy. Who handled the hefty prizes? At the inception of the competition, a third party, Simon Marketing, were contracted to produce the prize pieces for the game. In the style of the Monopoly board pieces, it was such a huge project for the company that the factory was overseen 24/7 and a strict search security protocol was put in place for all staff, with even toilet breaks being heavily monitored. A security contractor by the name of Jerome Paul Jacobsen did such a great job of preventing theft of the prizes that Simon Marketing offered him a direct role in overseeing the distribution of the prizes himself, all over North America. So far so good, I hear you say. The eagle-eyed man in charge. Jerome Paul Jacobsen was born in 1943, Youngstown, Ohio, and dreamt from a young age of being a police officer. Fulfilling his childhood ambition, he was sworn into Florida's Hollywood Police Department in 1976. However, tragedy would strike after an injury in the force led to a neurological disorder, which would, through paralysis, leave him without the use of his arms, legs, eyes, and respiratory system for a long period. He lost his job shortly after. In recovery, he moved with his wife to Atlanta, Georgia, and started a job in the corporate security for the firm his wife worked for. The accounts handled by them included Dittler Brothers Ltd., a publisher producing game pieces for none other than Simon Marketing. All was not well in the Jacobsen household, though. Soon after, him and his wife divorced, leaving a shattered home life. Jerome threw himself into his work with his eagle-eyed approach to the game, with staff even having their shoes searched for prizes. He slowly moved up in status and was eventually earning over $70,000 a year, distancing himself from a very impoverished childhood and growing a desire for a very lucrative materialistic life. He was so good at the job that eventually Jacobsen was hired directly for Simon Marketing. This newfound sense of purpose kept him motivated and more or less stable. As he traveled around handing out pieces, he soon realized that the winners were always directed to the US, never Canada, and he realized that there was an element of corruption in the competition's prizes on the part of Simon Marketing. Over time, the man became disillusioned with his role in an unfair competition. Knowing he was solely responsible, aside from accompanying auditors, for the whole prize-winning process, he thought to himself, well, if it's fixed, I may as well benefit. I can already hear you asking, how did he do it? Jerome's job was to take possession of the largest winning pieces, seal them in envelopes with tamper-proof tape, deliver them to McDonald's factories on first-class flights, and choose the food packaging that would hold the prize when they reached the restaurants. He even recommended watermarking tickets to prevent fraud. Their mistake was putting so much trust into one man. After realizing his job was completely based on dishonesty, Jerome held on to the information. Soon after, some of the tamper-proof stickers were accidentally mailed to his house. So whenever he was in transit to drop off a winning piece, he would lose his accompanying independent auditor, usually a woman, in the bathroom and open the envelope, remove the tamper-proof tape, take out the prize, replace it with a less valuable one, and then replace the tape from his own stock. It was perfect. One problem: Obviously, Jerome couldn't claim the prizes himself. McDonald's would want pictures and an interview to be seen handing out prizes to the man who organized the game would be met with real animosity and he'd be exposed. So Jerome turned to his friends and family. Jerome gave his brother a piece worth $25,000, his local butcher one worth $10,000, and he took a percentage of the winnings. As his confidence in his method grew, he stole a piece worth $1 million and put it in a safe deposit box. Over time, it was so random the way he selected his winners that police struggled to put the pieces together, and he thought he'd never get caught. He eventually had his winners live, work, and pay bills in the states they claimed from just to cover his tracks. By this point, Jerome was living the high life, but he wanted more. The greed of a mafioso. One day, Jerome would get his wish to go into the big time when he met Gennaro Jerry Colombo of the famous Colombo crime family. But as many know, the mafia always expect their cut. So Jerome started stealing other pieces as well as the big money ones, handing Colombo a Dodge Viper on one occasion. Now, Jacobsen was selling to mobsters, drug dealers, or anyone with the money. Obviously, these are not the type of people to go public with their winnings, something that after 12 years, the organizer McDonald's were becoming suspicious of. Meanwhile, Jerome was spending money on luxuries like classic cars, expensive holidays for his family, and land all over the USA. He was living the high life he wanted since childhood. How did it all come crashing down? One day, Jerry Colombo and his wife, looking to patch things up after a divorce, were driving and were in a huge accident that resulted in his death, severing much of the relations with Jerome Jacobsen. As a result, he went elsewhere to keep his organization going, and following continued success through new clients, the mafia became suspicious, jealous, and felt betrayed. Questions led to Jerome being linked to Colombo's death. Had it been him? In March 2000, a snitch, likely from the crime family, told FBI agents that Uncle Jerry was fixing the McDonald's Monopoly game. Your final answer. An FBI investigation was quickly opened with McDonald's, and Jerome was quickly embroiled in the story. Who was involved? How were they doing it? The fast food mogul quickly suspended the game and cut ties with Simon Marketing in 2001. After months of surveillance of Jerome, a man who was now so confident he never suspected the FBI to be on his tail, agents soon tracked him to be making a deal with John Davis in South Carolina. Although they couldn't get the winning piece on tape, 8 days later, David cashed in his prize. Handling everything needed for prosecution for over 50 people to the Bureau, Simon Marketing dissolved and Jerome was handed 15 years in jail. The whole unbelievable story was forgotten in less than a day, though, as Jerome's trial concluded on September 10th, 2001, a day before the worst terrorist attack on U.S. soil in history.